Hello there. My name is David, and today I will be reviewing Season 3, Episode 1 of The Mandalorian. It's called The Apostate, and the criteria that I'm going to be using are shown below down in the description. So please feel free to look at those to try to understand the point of view that I have on what I think makes good Star Wars. Please also note that there will indeed be spoilers in this reaction. Now, the reaction I'm trying to do is not a blow by blow of what happened in the episode, although it probably will cover most of what happened in the episode. It's more of what I felt worked, which I consider the Force being with us. And then also things I think did not work in the episode, and I'll call that section, that's not how the Force works. So I'll jump into this right away and let you know my thoughts on The Apostate, Episode 1, Season 3 of The Mandalorian. The theme song for The Mandalorian by Ludwig Göransson, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, is epic, and I will never tire of that theme song. So that, The Force is with us for sure. I just love that theme song and could listen to it all day. And in doing a little research to make sure I understood, an apostate is a person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle, and Din Djarin did so in removing his helmet, and that is how he became an apostate. And that's within the Death Watch itself. I think most of us know that within the broader Mandalorian community, removing your helmet, it does not cause you to be expelled from the creed. But in the Death Watch situation, you are if you remove your helmet. So that is why he is an apostate. And this season, it looks like the episode is going to focus on how he's going to try to redeem himself and rejoin the Death Watch. One element I found to be very positive at the start of the episode, and yet also had some problems with, is the armorer scene where she's creating a helmet for a new foundling, I believe, that's part of her creed. And so she's going through the process of creating the armor, which is all awesome to see that again. Then she's going out to meet that individual by an ocean or a lake as part of the process of introducing him or accepting him into the order. In that scene, we see that many Mandalorians have survived and have coalesced around the armorer. So it's good to see that many of the Mandalorians are safe and sound. Another great part of the episode is when Mando goes to Navarro to meet with Greef Karga, who is now the High Magistrate, and he doesn't like it if you just say Magistrate. He's High Magistrate Greef Karga, and the planet is entirely transformed. It looks very much like a place you'd feel comfortable to be. Not a lot of crime, just like you're cruising down a nice downtown section during a farmer's market or something like that. So another thing I think they did well is they easily explain, which I think a lot of us thought would be a hard thing to do, but they easily explained the absence of Cara Dune and that she had joined the special forces for the New Republic. And so, I think that issue is addressed. Therefore, Greef asks Mando if he would like to join and become marshal for the planet. But he has his own duties, as we know. He's trying to get to Mandalore and get to the living waters so that he can be redeemed. Mando is coming to Navarro, not just to say hi to Greef, but to also try to get IG-11, which is a robot or an android, a droid that he trusts. Unfortunately, he blew himself up and is not in the best of shape, but he still gathers the parts of the droid together and sees if he can rebuild him for use later on. My guess is they will be able to rebuild him at some point during the season and bring him in, but so far they've had no luck doing that in this episode. It's also great to see how Grogu's powers have grown. So it's kind of very subtle, but Grogu is using the Force in virtually every scene, sometimes just causing himself to continue to spin around in a chair, or his favorite thing of eating. So you'll see him using the Force quite a bit. It's become second nature to him. He still doesn't speak, but he seems to be on the verge of speaking Mando's language. So that is another good thing to see as well. Now I want to switch to those elements that didn't work for me too well in this episode. And the first takes us back to the opening scene with the armor, which is great to see that we had a lot of the Mandalorians who were safe and sound, but the scene just did not feel like it had been well thought out. And so when they go down there to give the to accept the new foundling in and to give him his helmet and to take the creed, all of a sudden a giant alligator jumps out and starts attacking everybody. And to me, that just seems like we didn't really write out this scene very well. We need some action, so let's add a giant alligator. And so that takes up a good part of that scene. Thank goodness Mando shows up in his fighter, so he's able to kill it. Otherwise, I think we would have lost a lot more Mandalorians than we did. But it just feels kind of out of place and like it was just added because they didn't really have an idea of what to do with that scene. And that brings me to kind of the larger problem with this episode is that it feels profoundly short. I've kind of gotten used to the various Star Trek episodes now on Strange New Worlds and Picard season 3, where you have essentially at least 50 minutes of content, and here you're left more with maybe 28 minutes of content. So it almost felt to me like this was an extended trailer. And when you see alligator jump out of the water and have a big fight that takes up like 5 minutes, that then feels like they just didn't have a whole lot of content for the show, and that was a disappointment to me. So I also feel that no new ground is covered in virtually this entire episode. So Mando goes to see the armorer, and she tells him basically what she told him last season, that he is no longer part of the creed because he took his helmet off. Mandalore is destroyed. He will not be able to find the living waters. He tells her he's going to do it anyway. She says okay. We also see that Mando visits Bo-Katan and flies down and sees her. And it's kind of bizarre saying she's in a beautiful castle and it's just her and a robot sitting in that castle, but she sits on the throne all day, which seems kind of hard to believe a person would do that. But when he meets with her, other than her giving him an idea where on Mandalore to look for where the living waters might be by going through the caves and the mines of Mandalore, she does not say anything different than what she told him before in the previous episode. So again, it almost seems like a repeat of what we saw last season, just capsulized in a mini trailer that we're going to be calling episode 1. And so I felt that that was a distraction from the show as well. This is just my own personal opinion. The N1 Starfighter, although it's a great ship, it should not be his only vessel. When he's there meeting with Bo-Katan, he should get one of the Mandalorian ships, which have a whole lot more room. So I think he should be a 2 spaceship kind of guy and using the fighter when needed, but also having a larger ship so that he can take a few more crew along with him to accomplish more on his missions. In fact, if he did have IG-11, he would not be able to take IG-11 and Grogu and himself to Mandalore. So I think he needs a different ship. I think they need to be looking at that. Another thing that they put into this episode, again, that seemed like filler was some pirates. So you see the pirates on Navarro trying to cause some trouble, and most of them are killed off by Mando and Greef, but one of them escapes. And then later on, we get in a situation where when Mando is leading Navarro after he cannot get IG-11 to work, and he's going to go then see Bo-Katan, he is chased through space by space pirates. And so the space pirates are trying to force him up to a larger ship. And we do meet a new character there. Goran Shard, I believe, is the name of the Pirate King. I think he'll be an interesting character. But again, this just felt like, hey, we have to fill up some time in the episode, so let's throw in some action, which they did, and then move on. So when I review this episode, I actually give it a 1.5 out of 5, which sounds pretty bad, but hope is not lost. I'm not despairing whatsoever. In my mind, for whatever reason, this episode ended up being literally a long trailer explaining what had happened last season and setting the pieces in place. I'm sure the space pirates will play some larger role in this. We'll see other elements that'll play a larger role that were just reintroduced, but it just came across in this episode as an episode very lean on content, very short, and not particularly exciting. So thank you so very much for taking time to watch my review today. Please like and subscribe if you've not already done so. And until we meet again, may the force be with you.